Hello, beautiful people. Hope everybody's having a great week. I want to say thank you guys. I really appreciate your time and your attention. Life is short, so I really appreciate you guys taking the time to pay attention, listen, watch, and give me some feedback. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. I want to kick it off with a couple of book recommendations. If any of you are readers, I typically do audiobooks, but I've been reading some here at the house, and one of the books I read is a book that surprised me quite a bit. I had planned on reading this book sort of on and off through the month of month of February, so I wanted to finish this by the end of February. It turned out to be so good, I just about couldn't put it down. It was the name of the book is A Nation of Victims: The Decay of American Character by Charles J. Sykes. Really interesting book. It is about basically victim culture and how we got where we are today. And oddly enough, this book was written over 30 years ago. So it was written in 1992, but it covers sort of in great detail how we got to a hypersensitive society. And I haven't looked to see if there's an updated version of this book, or if this author's written another book or more updated version of it. But I'd be curious to see if there is, just to see his take on what he sees today versus where we were 30 years ago. But it's an amazing book. Like I said, I just about couldn't put it down. Again, it's called Nation of Victims: The Decay of American Character. It talks a lot about the rise of lawsuit culture that we see a lot in society today, and hypersensitivity, and how we as a culture and we as a people have become very, very sensitive to the slightest thing, being offended or wanting to sue somebody, things like that. So it's kind of a background and gives you the backdrop of using the civil rights movement from that point forward, as to it just after the civil rights and during the civil rights movement, how it became a race to create more victims for profit. And when you look at our society today, after 30 years or 40 years of, the book was written 30 years ago, but since the civil rights movement, you're talking more like 60 years ago. But you can just see the rapid increase of victims in our society. And it's a shame because, it's Jordan Belfort, I think that's his name. He's the Wolf of Wall Street. Most people know him by the Wolf of Wall Street. He gave this example that if you're in a room and you scan the room and look for everything blue in the room that you're in, and if you close your eyes and then try to recall everything you saw that was red, you probably couldn't recall anything that you saw that was red because you were looking for things that were blue. So in many ways, if you perceive the world as if you look at the world through the lens of there are oppressors and there are victims, then you will see that everywhere, regardless of how true and real and meaningful those situations actually are. So if you're constantly looking for to be a victim and looking for reasons to call yourself a victim, you will certainly find them. So looking at the world through the lens of victimhood, there is just an endless amount of ways to perceive yourself as a victim. And it's not always something that this book goes a lot into, whether it be race or sex or anything like that. It can be something as simple as your daily life. So an example for me that I can think of is I gave you guys the example before of like road rage. For me, like is an issue that I have and a problem that I have. So if every time I get in my vehicle and I'm driving somewhere, if I am looking for somebody to cut me off so I can lose my mind, it's only a matter of time before somebody gets in front of me. I will be following the car in front of me too closely to prevent this person from getting in front of me, or any person from getting in front of me. And then as soon as somebody uses their signal or doesn't use their signal to get in front of me, I'm gonna freak out and panic and lose my mind because I was looking for that situation as soon as I got in my car or as soon as I got in my truck. And it wouldn't matter if I had driven 100 times, made 100 different trips from A to B without that situation happening, but I'm constantly looking for it. So as soon as it happens, that's when my brain triggers that immediate, I knew this was going to happen. This is the exact situation. This guy cut me off. This guy's an a-hole or whatever, because I'm looking for that situation to transpire. And regardless of how few times it happens or how insignificant that action really is, it's the biggest thing in the world to me at that time. Like, I am absolutely losing my mind, freaking out, panicking, screaming, yelling, cussing, flipping the bird, whatever the case is, because this person got in front of me. And had I not have been on, and that's the another part of this, is that we forget, and this book, the other book I'm going to tell you about, is that we forget the role that we play in these scenarios. This person changing lanes in front of me is only a portion of the scenario. The other portion of the scenario is what role I played in this scenario. And for example, wherever I am on that particular day, that particular road, that particular lane, at that particular speed, following this other car, often I'm following too closely anyway. Like, what I'm doing is wrong and I'm trying to prevent anybody from getting in front of me. Like, that mindset and that mentality of, I'm not going to let anybody in front of me. As soon as I get in my car, I've got that mindset. Nobody's going to get in front of me. So we don't look at the world through the lens of, I'm looking to be victimized. I'm looking to be wronged. But that's the reality of the world that we create for ourselves, because we look for these things, because we set up in our mind these scenarios and then we wait for them to happen. And we overreact to things that are so insignificant, so meaningless, and so pointless that they should just be brushed off and we should just move on. And we recuse ourselves of any sort of responsibility or blame for how this thing transpired. Now, of course, there are people out there that drive like lunatics. There are people that cut you off. There are people that don't use their signal. So I'm not saying that there's nothing to be upset about. I'm not saying that there are not real victims in the world, but I'm saying that we as a hypersensitive society have created victims where there are not victims, or we have changed and lowered the threshold of what it takes to be a victim. We're so hypersensitive to things that don't even matter or not even important that we have to create victims out of practically thin air just because we have to be offended by something. So that, in a nutshell, for me, I can relate it to my life in that way and use that example for you, is that you will find what you're looking for. And I've given you guys the example before of my temper and my anger issues, the drinking, the drugs. Like, I was looking for a reason to get high. I was looking for a reason to get drunk. I was looking for a reason to be angry. So it didn't matter what the reason was, whether it was a good reason or a bad reason. It was an excuse to behave that way. It was an excuse to lose my temper, lose my cool, to go out and drink, to get messed up like that. I justified it to myself that, this is happening to me, so this is going to be my conditioned response of, I've trained myself to behave in this way when this thing happens. And the truth is, that was what made my blood flow. As bad as my mental health was at that time, I was in a state of mind where I would rather have felt pain than nothing at all. I could feel nothing, so I was forcing myself into a painful situation by hurting myself mentally, physically. So I was looking for situations in the world, no matter how insignificant or how trivial, to justify to myself in my mind why I would behave this way and why I would do these things, And like I said, it wasn't always a negative thing. Sometimes it was a positive thing. It was a celebration. Hey, I'm happy because our business reached a landmark, or I'm happy that it's my birthday, or I'm happy that it's somebody else's birthday or a wedding, or anything to celebrate was also a reason to act this way or behave this way, or justify my behavior for the wrong things that I was doing. So when I read this, it may impact me differently than it impacts you, but I hope you read it. I hope you take the time. Like I said, I enjoyed it a lot. Like I said, my plan was to read it throughout the month, and I couldn't put it down. So I highly recommend this book, and I hope that you find some value in it. And I hope it helps bring into perspective a lot of what we see going on in the world today, and why there is constantly a decrease in the level of resiliency we show as a society, of togetherness and strength to adversity, where right now it just seems like everybody's just walking around on eggshells and looking for a reason to be offended, looking for a way to sue somebody, looking for a way to scream, racism, sexism, or anything like that. We just keep lowering the bar of what it takes to be offended. So, like I said, I use the road rage thing because that's, and drugs and alcohol. I use those things because that's what is relevant to my life. But I hope you read that. I hope you check it out. It's a good book. I'll probably reread this one. Books I like a lot, I'll reread, and I like this one a lot. I'm a dumb redneck, so my vocabulary is not very good. So there were some stuff I had to look up in here, but that's because this author is really intelligent and I'm not. So, but I hope you read that book, and I hope it means something to you, and I hope it does impact you in a way where you can kind of see society a little bit more clearly and through the lens of how we have basically created a breeding ground for victimhood. And it's a shame because it really talks a lot about in here about the deterioration of family values, and that's a shame. And when you look at society today, it's very apparent that there is very clearly a deterioration of family values and family structure. So hope you check it out. Hope you read that one. It's really good. I'll quit rambling about that and get on to the next one. The other book, just to give you guys an idea, my plan this year was to read one book a month. I typically read or listen to audiobooks, but I wanted to put my hands on some books this year and slow my reading pace down. When I do audiobooks, I fly through them, and I think sometimes you miss things when you go through things so quickly. So I wanted to slow down, not read as many books this year, and read books in person instead of audiobooks. And my plan was also to read books that had either been given to me or had been recommended by others instead of just stuff I was curious about. So this particular book, I don't even recall who recommended it to me. It's been on my shelf for a while. I've probably had this book a year, maybe two, and it's on my shelf. So I decided that this was the right time to read that one, and I'm glad I did. And like I said, I'll probably revisit that one. This other book is kind of funny. I don't know where this book came from. It showed up at the shop. Somebody shipped it here. The box got opened and the book was laid, sort of in my mail. When the box got opened, I think everybody that works here, whoever opened it, thought that I had ordered this book for myself. So they just opened the box, put the book with my stuff, and threw the box away. It was right before Christmas. I grabbed the book, I put it on my shelf. Didn't really think about it for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and I decided this was going to be the first book that I read this year. So I read this one in January. So I was a couple of, I guess I'll get to the title of the book. The title of the book is Bonds That Make Us Free, Healing Our Relationships Coming to Ourselves by C. Terry Warner. Like I was saying, I don't know where the book came from. Somebody gifted it to me. I was probably 2 chapters into the book before I decided to ask where the book came from, and that's when I realized and had found out that it came in the mail. It wasn't handed to somebody here. We threw the box away. So I was 2 chapters in before I realized the box had got thrown away. We didn't know where it came from, and I was probably about 4 chapters in when I had a pretty good idea where the book came from. Pretty sure it came from an ex of mine. We've been split up for a couple of years, but based on the content of the book, I have a funny feeling that she sent it. And the reason why I have that gut feeling is that this is a kind of a work on yourself type book. This is I wouldn't say a self-improvement book, but it's a perspective book. It helps you dig into some things inside your head that have happened in your past, and dig into sort of your behavior and what causes you to do the things that you do and how we respond to people. But being is that it's that type of book. Just to pull the curtain back a little bit, my ex was a psychology student, so a psychology major and graduate, and she was of course perfect, and I am of course not. So most of our relationship was her her wanting to work on me. Let's put it that way. So she was in a perfect place, and she had done the work to be perfect, and she was more than willing to lend her experience and her degree into improving me and my life. So I'm pretty confident that's where this book came from. But to get into the actual content of the book, like I said, the book is called Bonds That Make Us Free: Healing Our Relationships, Coming to Ourselves. Really good book. Probably not a rereadable one for me, but really good in the sense that I like things that make me think outside of my own perspective. As human beings, we get really tied up in the way we see things and the way we see the world, and we sort of forget or get so zoned in, we get tunnel vision where we can't see the world from any other point of view or any other vantage point. But this book was really good in the sense that it helped me sort of look into how I perceive how other people treat me, as well as how I respond to situations. Because in many ways, I think most people have heard the expression that, life isn't what happens to you, but it's how you respond to those things that happen to you in life. And this book was really good about explaining how we respond to people, especially difficult people in our lives, or even very insignificant things that don't carry a lot of weight, how we respond to them and how those impact our relationships with people in our lives. And I know, as imperfect as I am and as many mistakes as I've made, a lot of that has to do with how I perceived how people treated me and how people looked at me. And I was very quick to blame that person for their actions or their behavior, or them not responding to me in a way that I thought they should. And this book helped me sort of re-look and take a deeper dive into how I treat people and how I respond to things and situations and people, and again, how my role in this situation has created the situation. A lot of times we think things are happening to us, where in life things are happening for us. And I think it's Tony Robbins that says that, but he says, yeah, life is not happening to us, it's happening for us. So when you look at your relationships, even if something's not going your way or people don't respond, whether it's a co-working relationship, whether it's a personal relationship, a marriage, whatever the case is, if a relationship isn't going the way we think we should go, or this person that is in our life isn't responding to us the way we feel like they should, this helps us take a second look of how we're contributing to this situation. We find ourselves blameless in so many ways, where it's always somebody else's fault, somebody else's issue. Let's say, for example, somebody's going to seek counseling, and they're in a marriage, and one person wants to seek counseling, the other person really doesn't. And when the one person seeks counseling, the person that's sitting in the counseling session may very well be like, oh, I wish my partner was here so they could hear this. They really need this. They really need this. And really the focal point of that session should be on you, and you're thinking about this other person and how they're to blame or how they could benefit from this, instead of absorbing 100% of the information you could from this and possibly changing your behavior, becoming a better person, or changing the way you behave in the relationship and taking your portion of the responsibility for where you are and how you got there. Same thing with any sort of like seminar. Let's say you and your friends, or you and your coworkers, or you and your spouse decide you're going to take a course on something, and somebody backs out at the last minute. While you're there, instead of absorbing everything, you're like, oh, well, so-and-so should be here because they would benefit the most from this. And really, when you're thinking that way, you're behaving that way, when you think outside of yourself that other people should be doing this and should be doing that, you're missing the benefit of what you're doing and where you are at that time. So A couple of really good books. I highly recommend those. I've been talking way too much about those book recommendations. Really wasn't the point of what I wanted to talk about right now, but I got sidetracked, and well, there you have it. So talking about those types of things and those relationships, I do want to talk a little bit about other relationships that a good example of me not understanding my role in certain situations and certain relationships that I have either hurt people or damaged people, or I handled something really, really poorly and it negatively affected somebody, and I could have done better, should have done better. And one of those situations that sticks out to me, I've lost a lot of friends because of my behavior. People that were good to me that really didn't do me wrong, and I didn't treat them right, didn't do right by them, and a lot of times it came down to my attitude, my behavior, my anger, and even sometimes feedback that I gave people was very possibly feedback that they needed to hear, but it wasn't packaged in a way, and it didn't come from a good place. It came from a place of, I think you should do this, or you should be doing this, rather than me saying it to them or for them for their benefit. When I was giving these people this advice, it wasn't because I thought that they could do better. It was because if they did better, it was better for me. And I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense, but I was looking more for the benefit of their improvement and how that was going to do something for me, rather than the benefit was going to do something for them. And I think that if I would have looked at it that way back then, I would have done a better job of packaging it and explaining it and talking to this person, instead of basically losing their friendship over me trying to dictate to them what they should and should be doing with their life. I should have been more compassionate, and I should have been more thoughtful, and I should have also approached them with a good heart of, hey, I think this isn't your best, and I think you can do better, and I think that if you do better, it's going to drastically change your life, and you're going to see a lot more. You're going to be a lot more productive. You're going to live a lot happier life. And I didn't approach it that way. And an example of that is I know somebody, and they're really mad at me right now, and I hope they won't be forever. But I had this friend a couple years ago. Of course, COVID threw everybody's life through madness and craziness. She's in the service industry. She's a bartender. Extremely, extremely talented person. Like unimaginable talent. Like, I wish I had the amount of talent this person has. She's smart. She's hilarious. She's like supermodel beautiful. She's amazing. She's a great person. She's a great friend. She's just incredible. She's amazing. Like I said, I wish I had the amount of talent that she has. It's like off the charts. Like, it's sickening. It's one of those people that, like, they draw a picture and you're like, it's insane. Like, you just can't get your head around the amount of raw talent and skill. And again, I know you have to polish that. Nobody's born an artist in the sense that you can draw, but yeah, just immense amount of talent. And during COVID, this person, we were helping each other in the sense that at her work, with the way COVID was going, there weren't a whole lot of hours available. She's an adult. She's got bills to pay. She's got responsibilities. I'm self-employed. I own businesses. I'm always looking for good help. I'm always looking for people to come, help grow our business and help our customers. So I reached out to her. We set something up to where she would come help. So we were going to help each other. A couple weeks into it, I got really frustrated with her, and I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to approach her about how I felt like she could do more for herself and with her life than where she was. And the truth is, like, after we had this talk, and it was mostly me talking, which is a shame, but after we had this talk, she texted me and she said, you really should do better at minding your own business. And she was right. It wasn't my business to say, hey, you can do better. And that's a fine line that I walk every single day, because one of the most painful things for me, and I don't know why, I don't know where this comes from, but one of the most painful things for me is not necessarily seeing somebody that isn't being their best or at their best, or that hasn't fulfilled their potential. But what frustrates me is somebody that's not reaching for it. And I don't know why that bothers me, and it shouldn't, because again, it's not my life, it's not my path. I should concern myself with myself and not try to shake people and wake people up and try to convince them that they can do more and they can be more, and all the things that bother them in their life they can take into their own hands and solve these problems and make these things go away. So I don't know why these things bother me, but after a couple of weeks, it just frustrated me so much. And again, it's so selfish for me to be thinking of it that way. But I was so frustrated, like I approached her and I was like, this is not it. This is not it. Like, this is not even close to where you could be. And I wish at the time I would have had the words, but I didn't have the words, and I said it in a really nasty, ugly way. And she probably won't forgive me, and I understand. And I don't know where that's going to go, and I don't know exactly why I'm telling you the story in that way. But and I don't know exactly why it frustrates me so bad to see people that are not reaching for their potential, especially when they're struggling in ways that I know they can make these issues and problems go away. So I guess when I read these books, I look at the way I talk to people and the way I perceive people, and I should stay in my own lane more, and find better ways to coach and help and teach and mentor, if at all possible, instead of just going around with a club beating people over the head with whatever I think's best for their life. So like I said, I'm kind of rambling, and I don't know exactly what direction I'm going with that, but I don't know if that is something that happens in your life. I don't know if it bothers you, or maybe in some other ways, we just go around telling other people what we think they should be doing. Hey, you should be doing this, and you should do that, and you should say this, and you should behave this way. And if that was my business, I would do this. If we just create all these scenarios where if we were in this other person's role, we would do it better, or we would do the right thing, whatever that is. So I don't know how that impacts you, or if that means anything to you. And I don't know exactly what it is I'm trying to say with that, other than I hope that in the future, one, just by saying this out loud, I hope I can work through some of the things that go through my head, and how I perceive the world, and how I perceive people, and how I attempt to help people, and realizing that sometimes staying in my own lane is helping people. And then if I do feel like I need to do something or help somebody, that I find the right words to do it at the time, and that I do it from a place of this is what's best for them and not what's best for me. And I know tough love is a way to help people. It's just a matter of, like I said, sort of walking that fine line and walking that tightrope of, am I supposed to help this person? And if I am supposed to help this person, what words do I use to where it's most beneficial to them, rather than am I helping this person because it's beneficial to me? I even think about that sometimes whenever I'm doing something for somebody else, whether it's, helping somebody, whether it's time or a financial donation or something like that. Sometimes I wonder, am I just doing this because it makes me feel good, or am I doing this from a place of, this is what's best for this other person. This other person's needs need to be met, and I want to fulfill their needs selflessly. And I really question sometimes whether I'm doing it selfishly. So I don't know if any of that means anything to you. I'm just rambling at this point. I get sidetracked really easy. I lose my train of thought. There's things sometimes I'll watch one of these own videos so I can hear myself and try to walk through this, and I hear gaps in what I should have said, and I hear gaps of things I should have explained better. So I'm sure whenever I watch this, I could have explained some things better, but hopefully something in here will help you. So hopefully something in here as I watch this later today or tomorrow or next week or next month will help me be a better person, see things better, see people better, offer help in the right way, in the right tone, with the right words. Because I do want to see people reaching for their potential, because life is short. What you do here matters. Your life matters. Your purpose matters. The things that you do matter. They have a ripple effect on other people. You have no idea who's looking up to you or looking to you for guidance. Most of them are doing it quietly. They're doing it secretly. They're looking out of the corner of their eye. They're following you on social media. And sometimes it's a complete stranger, at a gas station, at a restaurant. Who knows? But people are looking up to you. So we need you to be your best right now. Every single day, be working to be your best. No matter how much you think of an impact it's going to make, it will make an impact for somebody. So I hope you start reaching for your potential if you're not already. The sky's the limit. Like I said, your life has purpose. Your life has meaning. So I hope you reach for your potential. There's people counting on you. God put you here for a reason, and we need you to be you today as much as possible, as soon as possible, to be every bit of you that God created you to be. So I hope you step into that fully. I hope you step into that fully. And I appreciate you guys for listening. Thanks for paying attention. I love you guys. Thank you very much for the feedback. Thanks for your time. I love all you guys. Thank you. We'll see you next time.